My flesh writhes with scarlet rot. If you are wise, you will leave immediately.
You all remember the Afflictionist build, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Afflictionist.
Well, here is its DLC successor. This build is a DLC bloody, rotting, toxic assault which hits fast and deep, melting away bosses' health bars. We have two Antspur Rapiers with their passive Scarlet Rots, one with the Poison affinity and one with the Bleed affinity. We have the new DLC Ash of War, the Poison Flower blooms twice, and Seppuku as well. We Powerstanced the Antspur Rapiers, and thanks to our armor, talismans and Flask of Wondrous Physick, we are going to stack up attack boosts from all of the status effects we'll be inflicting fast and hard on our enemies. Our DLC Ash of War complements this build so well, and its attack power is also boosted by the status effects we are inflicting. It's also a great way to cover ground and deliver a final blow to bosses before they deliver one to us. This build is very glass cannon. We trade off a lot of defense for being able to inflict fatal status effects on our foes, so you will need your wits about you. It's a super simple build to master with very few buffs. This rotting sickness erodes one's memory and you will soon lose yourself to this build. But don't worry, your enemies will always lose faster. My fellow Tarnished, I give you the Shadow Afflictionist. So as mentioned, we have two Antspur Rapiers plus 25, our main hand has the Poison affinity, and our offhand has the Bleed affinity. This thrusting sword comes with a deadly sting, in the form of 55 passive Scarlet Rot buildup. We'll be using two Ashes of War. On the main Antspur Rapier, we'll be using the DLC's Ash of War, the Poison Flower blooms twice. And for the offhand Antspur Rapier, we'll be using Seppuku. More on these in a moment. With this setup, we are going to be inflicting Scarlet Rot, Bleed, and Poison all at once. The Antspur Rapier is a thrusting sword that is dropped by Malay Moray's Shaded Castle Castellan, a hostile NPC found in the fields west of the Shaded Castle. You can only get one per playthrough, but if you head over to my Discord, I'm sure you'll find someone in the community willing to drop you one. The Antspur Rapier is upgraded with standard smithing stones to plus 25, and can be buffed with magic and consumables. The Antspur Rapier comes with the Impaling Thrust Ash of War, which will do 24 stance damage, and cuts through shields and defences. The DLC Ash of War, the Poison Flower blooms twice, is a dive kick attack causing Scarlet Rot buildup. It's great for covering ground, and if the enemy already has Scarlet Rot or Poison on them, the damage of this Ash of War is increased further. It's such a stylish finisher. The Poison Flower blooms twice is dropped by a Teardrop Scarab. From the ravine north site of Grace in Rao Base, head south to cross the river and find it near a small pool of rot near some ruins. The Seppuku Ash of War will inflict 100 plus 15% of your max HP to you in the form of blood loss. This, however, will boost our damage by 30 and our bleed buildup by 30, and these numbers will scale with our arcane stat, which is very high for this build. We are also going to get an extra 20% damage boost from one of our talismans, the Lord of Blood's Exultation. More on this in a moment. You can find the Ash of War Seppuku on the Frozen Lake, east of the Freezing Lake site of Grace. It is dropped by an invisible Teardrop Scarab that you can hear moving along the lake's edge. At this point, guys, I really hope you don't mind making my dreams come true by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. If you guys like my content even half as much as I like your comments, then I am one very proud content creator. I started with the Bandit class, and our stats are Vigour at 60, this is the hard cap for our health, giving us great survivability. Mind at 12, leave this at base. Endurance at 40, This gives us plenty of stamina to keep our fast successive hits going. Strength at 10, leave this at base. Dexterity at 75, this will be boosted to 80 and gives us C scaling for poison and bleed affinities on our Antspur Rapiers. Intelligence at 9, leave this at base. Faith at 8, leave this at base. And Arcane at 60. This is great for our status effect build-ups. Right then, let's look at the armour. We are going to mix things up here with the best attack boosts. We'll start with the wonderfully hideous Mushroom Crown. This grotesque piece of headgear is going to boost our attack power when either we or our enemies are inflicted with Scarlet Rot or poison. The boost is 10% extra damage for 20 seconds. The Mushroom Crown is found on a corpse hanging off the top column in a southeastern corner of the Lake of Rot. Climb the fallen pillar leading to a rocky outcropping south of the ruin to reach it. Next, we have the Gravebird's Blackquill chest armour. This Gravebird's Blackquill armour is going to increase our jump attacks by 10%. This is great while powerstancing thrusting weapons, as we get so many hits in when jump attacking. To get this armour, start at the Templetown Ruins Site of Grace, head north, past the Red Pest Servants of Rot, and stick to the left. The path will start to head upwards and you will find several Gravebirds. Continue upwards and you will eventually reach an area where there are Gravebird statues at the side, in the middle and against the wall. Here you will find the armour. For our leg slot, we'll use the Rakshasa armour. This is going to give us plus 2% to our attack power, but will also cause us to take 2% damage as well. The set is dropped by Rakshasa in Eastern Nameless Mausoleum. This area can only be accessed by using the ladder in Shadow Keep to get down to a special teleport coffin. Then finally, I like to use something like the Gauntlets of Solitude. The Gauntlets of Solitude get us over 50 poise, which will help when we are trading blows. They can be attained after defeating the Black Jail Knight found inside Western Nameless Mausoleum, right near the start of the DLC. Now then, the all-important Talismans. We'll start with MIllicent's Prosthesis, which is giving us a +5 to our dexterity, and is boosting our attack power for successive hits. This is stacking with our second talisman, the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia, also boosting our attack power for successive hits. Then we have the Lord of Blood's Exultation. With this we are boosting our attack power when bleed procs, and trust me, bleed will proc. Then we have the Kindred of Rot's Exultation. The Kindred of Rot's Exultation raises attack power by 20% for 20 seconds when poisoning or rot occurs in the vicinity. I am also using Melania's Great Rune. This is great to keep us healing whilst we are trading blows with enemies. Right, in the Flask of Wondrous Physick we have the new DLC Viridian Hidden Tear. The Viridian Hidden Tear stops any stamina consumption for 15 seconds. This means we can just go full out with an assault without worrying about our stamina. Then we have the Thorny Crack Tear, which is going to stack with Millicent's Prosthesis and Rotten Winged Sword Insignia in boosting our attack power for successive hits. Okay, so we don't have any incantations on this build. However, there is no reason why you can't put the Golden Vow Ash of War on a basic dagger. This way, you can simply add an extra 11.5% attack boost and a nice 7.5% extra defense. Lovely stuff. And now for the combat. Let's see all this in action. Now, a lot does depend on inflicting as many status effects as we possibly can. Half of our gear is going to boost our attack power because of status effects, and our Poison Flower Blooms Twice Ash of War is going to do a lot of extra damage as well. If the bosses are immune to status effects, then the attack power boosts will come from the other half of our gear, which is boosting attack power for successive hits and jump attacks. The only thing that really needs some timing and thought is the Viridian Hidden Tear, as it only lasts 15 seconds. But apart from this, the build has the potential to utterly melt bosses' health bars. The difficulty of the build is well balanced. Some bosses are going to be absolutely destroyed, and some will resist, and for those, you need to know the build and your own skill level. I like to use Seppuku and Golden Vow before engaging bosses, and then I pop the Flask of Wondrous Physick when I know there is an initial opening to launch a flurry of super fast, rotting, poisoning, and bleeding attacks. It's so much fun. So there you have it guys, I would like to give a huge shout out to Ashen Night Fest for this awesome build. All that's left now is for you guys to have your say. What do you think of this build? Are you going to try it? What would you do differently? Get in the comments and let me know. All the best guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!